Welcome back to the Nerdy Grill and welcome to a brand new top 10 ranking here on the channel. This time I'm looking at my top 10 Doctor Who cliffhangers from the modern era of the show. And in particular, these are cliffhangers that, at least in my opinion, and from a general consensus that I've seen online in the past, these are 10 cliffhangers that have made us at some point scratch our heads, go, oh my goodness, WTF, or really be confused as to how they could possibly get out of this situation, or what on earth is going to happen, or what on earth has happened behind the scenes. That's the basic premise of these top 10. So if you're staring at this top 10 list thinking, how come that one's on the list? There's another one that could be on the list. This is because, at least in my opinion anyway, these were 10 that when I sat down and watched them, I was scratching my head, or I was in absolute awe, or they were the ones that got me engaged the most into wanting to come back to the show. That's not the case with all of these, as I will explain when we get to one or two of them on the list, but just keep that in mind when watching this list, and I'm sure if you did your own top 10 cliffhangers from the modern era of the show, your list would be completely different. So I'm not going to ramble on any longer. We're going to get straight into this list, beginning with number 10. Number 10 on this list I have titled The Master Race. So this is taken from The End of Time Part 1, the tail end of the first part of the 10th Doctor's Swan Song story, which you kind of already know my opinions on The End of Time as a whole of the story. I think the regeneration could have been dealt with a little bit better, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Part 1 cliffhanger, where the Master had actually gained what he wanted. He was resurrected and managed to make everyone in the world him. He created a master race, turning all the humans on planet Earth into the Master, wiping out the Doctor's favourite species in the entire universe and turning them into his worst and mortal enemy. And I thought that was really, really intense. But not only did we have that, so we had the thoughts of all of his previous companions and friends potentially being the Master. What about the Graves on Earth? Did they become the Master and resurrect? But also you had the fact that Wilfred was immune to it because he was trapped in a little radiation chamber, but also the fact that Donna wasn't changed into a version of the Master, but also we had that added conflict and added tension of now that she's seeing her mum and all those around her turn into the Master, she is starting to remember her time with the Doctor, which is something that she wasn't meant to do. So we were then thinking, oh my goodness, is Donna gonna remember? And is Donna gonna potentially bite the dust? This was really intense. And right at the tail end of this episode as well, they give us the tease that the Time Lords are returning, which since the modern era of the show, obviously we had the Time War, that none of the Time Lords were around apart from the Doctor and then the Master. So we were really interested to see how the Time Lords have changed, especially from a classic Whovian perspective of how different are they going to be post-war. So I think this really sets up a big dramatic battle, a final confrontation between the 10th Doctor and the Master, and does it in a fantastic way. So this one I'm titling Trapped at the End of the Universe. So we've got Utopia. So this is another Master-based story, in particular with John Sim. We've got the Doctor, Companion Martha, and the return of Captain Jack Harkness, who have travelled to the edge of the universe in order to find the last of the humans planning on escaping to this utopia, this place of safety. They encounter Chando and Professor Yana, who Professor Yana has this fob watch, which we learned earlier in the series that it could contain a Time Lord consciousness if you wanted to hide out. And as the story progresses, we get little teases to the Professor's past, and it's revealed that he is actually the Master who has disguised himself in human form. And at the end of this episode, the Master gets killed by Chando after reviving himself and regenerates into John Sim's incarnation, who is inside the TARDIS and ends up stealing the TARDIS, trapping the Doctor, Jack and Martha at the edge of the universe. All the while, the future kind, this savage form of beast and human at this side of the galaxy, are about to break in and pretty much, well, kill them. Let's not sugarcoat it here. They are going to do them some harm, and they don't know what to do and how they're going to get out of that scenario. There's a couple of ways you could think of as a fan, but at the time I remember thinking, how on earth are they going to get out of this? They haven't hinted at anything. They also hinted at earlier in the story, you know, Captain Jack using his vortex manipulator. They never really stated whether that was still working properly, whether they'd be able to get that up and running again, and whether it would actually work to transport more than one person. They do a little bit of a hint at it in the next story, and they do clear it up for us. But I remember at the time thinking, oh my goodness, how are they going to get out of this one? The Master has outsmarted the Doctor, and this is going to be really intense. And also just getting the return of the Master as well. You know, as a classic Whovian, the Master is the Moriarty to Sherlock. He is one of the biggest and, you know, most well-known Doctor Who villains. So to get him into New Who was a triumph and was done really, really well. So for me, it was a perfect cliffhanger. And at number 8, we have The Universe is Dead from the Pandorica Opens. There's lots of layers to this. All of our major heroes are in trouble and the universe is pretty much wiped out. We've got an alliance of the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Sontarans, the Jadoon, the Autons, the Sycorax. Any foe that the Doctor has ever faced has collectively come together and trapped the Doctor in this inescapable prison from fear that he is going to destroy the universe using the TARDIS and the Big Bang. So they succeed, they lock the Doctor away in the Pandorica, the Doctor's got no chance of escape. We then cut to River Song, who is trapped in the TARDIS, which is caught in a time loop. The doors have been sealed, she cannot escape, and the TARDIS console is exploding. So at the time we thought, this is the end of River Song, because it was only revealed that it was a time loop in the next episode. So at that present moment in time, River Song was gone. Also, just minutes prior, Rory was revealed to be an Auton and he had shot Amy dead. So we then cut to Rory holding Amy in his arms. And then it flashes back and we see the whole universe going dark. All the stars going out, all the planets being wiped from existence, zooms out from Earth, Earth even fading to black as well. And it's like, how on earth are they going to get out of this one? Nobody is around. River could potentially be gone. The Doctor's trapped in an inescapable prison. Amy's been shot dead. Rory is an Auton, and all the planets are vanishing from existence. For me, this makes it a really good cliffhanger and really makes you want to come back and see how on earth they get out of that next week. We have the Doctor becomes a weeping angel. Yeah, from Village of the Angels. So chapter 4 of the Flux saga, which I actually quite liked Flux. I thought it was pretty good. Definitely the better half of the Jodie era, at least in my personal opinion as well. In this one, we follow the Doctor facing off against the Weeping Angels again, but at the end, she is confronted with an army of Weeping Angels and a Weeping Angel that she's been seeking out through all the story. As it's been like slowly possessing one of our core main characters, but we find out that actually it was all to lure the Doctor in and bring the Doctor back to Division, something that was hinted at in season 12, so we get to learn more about the Doctor's past. But the way they do that and the way they get the Doctor to rejoin Division and come with them is we see that they actually turn the Doctor into a Weeping Angel. And I think that is absolutely amazing, getting to see the Doctor become one of the core villains of the show, at least in the modern era of the show anyway, and seeing the Doctor with her eyes, her hands in front of her face as a Weeping Angel, I thought, wow, there's a lot they could do here, and next time I hope and pray that they do something with. Obviously, sadly, we know they don't, but at the time I remember thinking, wow, how on earth is the Doctor going to get out of this one? The Doctor's now been taken back somewhere that she's been on the run from, somewhere that she doesn't really remember, but also she's now become one of her biggest enemies, and that is really, really interesting. And how on earth are Yaz and Dan going to get back to the Doctor? So this sets up a really good cliffhanger. You just gotta hope that they can follow through next time. The 6th then is Missy is the Master. Yeah, I remember at the time there was so many theories about who Missy was going to be going all the way through season 8. Little teases about her connection to the Doctor. Theories galore. Was she Romana? Was she the Rani? Was she another Time Lord that we hadn't heard of before? Was it River Song regenerated? There were so many theories. You know, people did slightly consider the Master, but no one actually thought about going down that route properly. It was floating around the internet, and I did see it at the time, but we couldn't believe they actually went there. And, you know, to have the reveal that we've got our first female incarnation of the Master was a massive shock to the system at the time. And pairing that then with the Cybermen as well, and going down a very dark concept of all the dead bodies being Cybermen, you know, I thought that was terrifically done. You know, the little parallels they had with the invasion where they were coming out of St. Paul's Cathedral, I thought was a really nice touch. And the Master's reveal to the Doctor, so when Missy reveals herself as the Master to the Doctor, and seeing the Doctor's horror and shock, because the last time the Doctor saw the Master, it was in the end of time where he was heading back to Gallifrey and he thought he would never see him again. So he was shocked that the Master was still around, obviously now in Missy form. And I thought it was a terrific reveal, and I really wanted to know where this new incarnation of the Master could go now that she's, you know, free from the confines of hiding her identity. She's now revealed herself now, so obviously we might start to get more of those Master mannerisms now and see how she can play this role under the new guise of Missy. So I thought it was a terrific cliffhanger, and just after the Cybermen walk past as well, we also get the tease of Danny Pink about to delete his emotions and become a Cyberman himself. So that was really intriguing and a very good and clever cliffhanger. So coming in at number 5, we have the 12th Doctor meets the first Doctor from the Doctor Falls. The second part in my favourite Peter Capaldi two-parter story, World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls from Series 10, the return of the Mondasian Cybermen, the first and only on-screen multi-master story with Michelle Gomez's Missy and John Sims' incarnation of the Master. It was done terrifically. But the cliffhanger we've got is the Doctor earlier in the story was attacked by a Cyberman, you know, and slowly dying through the story and holding off a regeneration. And at the end of the story, we've got the Doctor regenerating, but he refuses, so he leaves the TARDIS because the TARDIS has taken the Doctor to an unknown location. Turns out to be the South Pole, you know, the location of the 10th planet where he first regenerated. He's calling out in the snow, a figure answers him, and that figure turns out to be his very first incarnation, not played by William Hartnell, but played by David Bradley, who comes to the Doctor's aid, and then it leads into Twice Upon a Time for a multi-Doctor story, talking about both Doctors who were both a bit too stubborn to regenerate at the time. And I thought it was done beautifully, and I thought it was fantastic, and it was a lovely, lovely touch, and a lovely way to honour both Doctors. And so I was really engaged, I was really invested, and I couldn't wait to see what the Christmas special Twice Upon a Time had to offer. And for me, that makes a good cliffhanger and a good end to a series as a whole. So coming in at number 4, we have O is the Master. Yeah, another Master reveal, this time from Series 12, Spyfall Part 1. This one really came as a shock to me because I didn't suspect it at all. And talking to lots of my friends and lots of people online, they too also really didn't expect it. And I think that's what made it the big shock reveal that it was, and the big cliffhanger end to Spyfall Part 1, and a bit of a kick in the backside that I think at the time the Chibnall era really needed, because Series 11 at the time wasn't really seen as very good. So getting this reveal really put a bit of spice into the work, and it was done perfectly. You got this character of O who was an old friend of the Doctor's. They seemed to get on really well, pally-pally. It's great. There's no hint at all that he is up to no good. You could have your suspicions because this is like a James Bond parody, bit of a spy thing, and usually someone betrays someone at some point. But then he starts revealing more information about himself and gets some information wrong, and so the Doctor begins to question, and then there's little teasers then. He asks them to look out the window, Ryan, Graham, Yaz, and the Doctor, and then you see a floating house. So immediately then you think, hold on a minute, how's that house floating? Is it a TARDIS? Oh my goodness. Then O looks at the Doctor and is like, oh, come on, catch up. You know, you must know. And the slow build-up reveal and the tease of a word that he said earlier in the story, which he said it so quickly and in passing, you wouldn't have thought anything of it at the time. He said, you know, we need to be looking for the Spy Master. But he said it so soiree and just so, oh, we need to look for the Spy Master. You don't think anything of it. But then he puts extra emphasis on the word master, and then you piece it together. And it's done brilliantly. I love it. I love the use of the tissue compression eliminator, bringing back a classic. The fact that also he's put a bomb on there, he vanishes, he throws a little seed into the works saying that everything the Doctor knows from her life is a lie. So what on earth is going on there? What's he talking about? Are we ever going to find that out? You know, the plane is crashing. How on earth are they going to survive that? You know, in seconds they could all be either sucked out or just dead. You know, it's what on earth is going on? And the Master's final line of "got you" finally makes it feel like, oh my god, the Master has actually done it, and he's going to wipe out all the cards in one fell swoop, and he's got the last laugh. It was really intense, it was done really well, and like I said, it was a shock. And that's one of the reasons why it makes it on this list and why it makes it so high, is because there wasn't even a hint for me. I remember watching it and thinking at the time, like, holy crap, I didn't expect that to be the Master at all. It really, really shocked me. And in my opinion, Sacha Dhawan plays the Master really well. I know some people don't agree, but I think personally Sacha does a decent job as the Master. So I really liked it, and I thought it was a fantastic cliffhanger. In at number 3, we've got the 10th Doctor regenerates. And yeah, this is from The Stolen Earth from Series 4, a fan favourite episode, and a fan favourite episode that is also one of my favourites as well. But this was a real shock to the system, because you don't often see a Doctor regenerate before the end of a series. It happened once or twice in the classic series for different reasons, like William Hartnell into Patrick Troughton in The 10th Planet, but that was due to Hartnell's ill health, and also Peter Davison into Colin Baker at the end of Kaiser Androzani, so you still had the twin dilemma. But this was something that didn't happen very often, and was something that wasn't really talked about. We sort of subtly knew that David Tennant might have been leaving, but we never expected him to regenerate at the end of season 4 at that point, and we definitely didn't expect him to do that in the penultimate episode and not the actual finale episode. He did it at the end of part 1, so it was really dramatic. We thought, are we gonna get a new Doctor to finish this series? That will be really cool, really unexpected, really intense, and would be very, very interesting for a new Doctor to have to deal with the extremities that's going on in this story. The Daleks have shifted planets and Earth out of its place in space. They've invaded Earth. They're just taking people left, right, and centre. You've got all the Doctor Who RTD era companions and stuff returning, like Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures and Rose and everybody. You know, it was intense. And so we really didn't know what to expect. And that's what it was. It kept people guessing and got people proper theorising. I remember going to school back then and talking to my friends about it, and they were in shock and they were theorising like crazy. And that's what a Doctor Who cliffhanger should do, and that's what a good cliffhanger of any show should do, is it should get you thinking, get you theorising, and get you talking. And that's exactly what this one did, so it deserves to make it into the top 3 on my top 10 cliffhangers. So number 2, I've simply titled, Who is the Doctor? And this is one that I wasn't really sure whether I was going to put on the list or not, but it is a good cliffhanger simply because the amount of theories, the amount of questioning from the fans, from, you know, the producers and executives themselves, you know, everything, it's got people talking for months and months and months, and people are still unsure about what on earth is going on. Obviously, I'm, yes, talking about the regeneration of Ncuti Gatwa into Billie Piper, and who on earth is Billie Piper's character? Is it the Bad Wolf? Is it the Moment? Is it Rose Tyler? Is it the Doctor? Who on earth is Billie Piper, and are we actually going to see her again? Are we never going to see her again? Are we going to gloss over and there'll be a brand new Doctor? All these questions are being posed, and that's why it's such a good cliffhanger to a degree, despite what you think about the episode. Yes, the episode was a train wreck. Yes, it was a terrible end to the series. And yes, the regeneration was an utter shambles, mess, and his reason for regenerating was terrible. But you've got to admit, it got people talking. It still has people talking and theorising. You know, magazines were produced about it. They didn't know. Ursula T. Davis himself doesn't know. It's a big question mark, and something that's going to have people talking for ages and ages and ages. And so for me, that's why it's actually a good cliffhanger, despite the actual episode that it comes from. And yet, so I was a bit up in arms whether to put this one on the list, but because of how baffled I was, and my reaction when I watched the episode was something to behold. But if you want to know more my thoughts on that, check out my discussion videos and my my review on the Reality War. But yeah, Wow, what a cliffhanger. So that's why it doesn't quite make it to number 1, but I did have to put it on this list, and it is the runner-up for my top 10 cliffhangers of Modern Who. Finally, we have David Tennant is the 14th Doctor. Yeah, some people may be a bit shocked that this one is my personal favourite cliffhanger and is up so high, but that's because I generally didn't expect this at all. We knew David Tennant was returning for the 60th anniversary specials, but there were so many questions about what he was actually going to be doing and what his role was. People thought, was it just the 10th Doctor returning, especially when you're pairing him up with Catherine Tate? Were these going to be previous episodes that we'd never seen just to fill the gap? What were they going to do? And the original intention was supposedly that they were going to fade to black and we weren't going to see regeneration at all. We were just going to see Jodie, and then one day we were going to see Ncuti, because at the time we knew Ncuti was going to be the next Doctor. So to see David pop up as a sort of in-between Doctor between Jodie and Ncuti was, wow, it was insane. Also, it posed questions. Why did the costume change? That's never happened before, apart from obviously back in the day during William Hartnell to Patrick Troughton. So normally the costume stays the same. So we thought, what's going on there? There was plot threads in The Power of the Doctor, whether we thought, hold on a minute, is it the fact that the Master messed up the Doctor's timeline by forcing a regeneration and taking over her body? You know, is that why this Doctor's back? How different is this Doctor? You know, because at the start, does a couple of the mannerisms and things of the 10th Doctor, but yet it's different enough that it could be a new incarnation altogether. What on earth is going on? Please, we need answers. And we had such a long gap between The Power of the Doctor and then The Star Beast of just over a year that we had loads of time to theorise. Eventually things got pieced together and we learned that he was the 14th Doctor, but we then had more questions thinking, well, how different are you to 10? Is this a continuation or are you a brand new incarnation altogether? Why has this face come back? Are we going to get answers to that? We kind of did. In my opinion, they weren't very satisfactory, but we did get answers to that. Are we going to get answers to the clothes changing? Technically we do, but by RTD in an article which I have done a discussion on, and I think it is a ridiculous answer. But I remember at the time thinking, holy crap, David Tennant is back. What on earth are they going to do here? And clearly this Doctor is some form of continuation, because the reaction wasn't like, oh, this is the first time the 10th Doctor's been back. This was, you know, he knows these teeth, he recognises it, so it's got all the memories still. So I was really engaged and I was really looking forward to what was going to happen. So it was just a mind-boggling episode of Doctors and companions from the past. So seeing David Tennant again was amazing at the time. But that is going to be my top 10 cliffhangers from the modern era of the show. It could be seen as a bit divisive. I know there's going to be some picks on here that people won't agree with. There'll be some picks that people will agree with. But that's just what everyone's lists are going to be like. I would be really interested to see what your guys' top 10 cliffhangers are. So if you want to leave a list, please pop them in the comments below. And like this video by giving it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Grail signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.